I read this book in 26 minutes, and I'm actually feeling better prepared to develop this next generation of dancing artists because I better understand the impact of mainstreaming, affirming, and the unchecked. So let's talk about it. This is 26-minute reads with me, Mya D, and this reading vlog is kind of like my accountability space because in these videos, these short videos, I share with you my takeaways from my current read. This is actually book number 3 of my 26 to 26 challenge, where I'm reading 26 minutes per day. So this is definitely more of slow reading rather than speed reading. It's also an act of self-love and investment into myself and a way of providing myself with some consistency in an ever-changing world. And I hope that all of that feels like an invitation, because it is, for you to join me along in this journey. Well, this video is a little different than some of the other videos in that I am discussing pages 144 through the end of Skin Color Points by Dr. Niyama McCartney Brown. So that means that I'm actually discussing several weeks of reading in this video. So let's jump into these takeaways. Takeaway number 1 can be found on page 167 of the book and is the words of our author. So I'm going to read from my notes so that I say it correctly. Here we go. And I quote: when I'm reading the bios of a lot of Latina dancers and a lot of mainstream ballet companies, I notice that these dancers are often not from the United States, end quote. So this is pulled from a section where McCartney Brown is in dialogue with Yannette Fernandez. And to this statement about the mainstream, these dancers in these mainstream companies being Latin American dancers in the US, but not from the US, Fernandez then comments about the cultivation of dancers. So Fernandez says that she believes that this is due to the way that dancers are cultivated in the US versus cultivated in Cuba, and that within the United States, dancers are cultivated as dance being a more recreational thing. It's something to do because it's fun, whereas the training in Cuba is very intentional in the development of professional dancers. And this exchange stood out to me because I felt like it mirrored what I have seen in documentaries of dancers that are training and being cultivated in countries outside of the United States. That these dancers are approaching this in the same way that an athlete approaches it, and envisioning the dance as a way to improve their socioeconomic status, helping with the way that they and their family will be living, possibly allowing them and their family to move to another country, or just improving their state of living. And also the intensity, the care, the support of the extended family within that within the cultivation of the dancer also seems, outside of the United States, also seemed different than what I've seen in some of the companies, the academies here in the United States. Now, I'm only one person and Fernandez is only one person. So I cannot say that this is true for every situation, and very much welcome you to include your lived experience within respect to your training here in the United States or outside of the United States, because I want to go back to something that I've said before, and something that did continue to come up, was a statement that I can't say it's true for everybody. I cannot say this thing is true for everybody. And at the end of this collection of interviews, that's one of the things that also comes back. It's not true for everybody, meaning that the dance experience of Black and brown dancers is not a monolith. There's not one version of the story. And I think that that is a beautiful thing to understand, especially if you're someone that's having a challenge, right? the world can feel like it weighs you down, and that you are not able to excel and go forward because of things that are outside of your control, like the color of your skin, like where you were born. So it's important to have these alternative stories. It's important to have varied perspectives in the space, so that we know that there is an option. So I invite you to add your additional stories in, especially if you're someone that has experienced something different. And as we step into takeaway number 2, I think that it is also a great time to say that while I have had several decades of experience as a dance educator, a curriculum writer, and a dancer, I am not the know-all be-all for this book. I'm simply providing a space for dialogue so that we all grow to be better educators for the dancers that are in front of us right now and those that are coming after us. Takeaway number 2 is affirming. At the end of the book, there is a reflection from the author. And on page 226 of the book, we find these words from our author. And I quote, "Historically, women of color receive few affirming in-group messages from other women of color pursuing ballet as a career. More specifically, within a United States context, African American women may receive this in-group messaging that few African American women can actualize their dreams in ballet." So we're talking about what types of messaging dancers get, and the author is saying that some of that messaging reads and can be read as there's not a lot of opportunity, there's not a lot of space for African Americans within the world of ballet. And as a dancer, that's a little disheartening. But I wonder if it actually holds true for women of color, ballet dancers outside of the United States. And if this is true, I wonder what small actionable steps we can take to grow forward, right? In the book, another book that we read, Dance and Belonging by Crystal U. Davis, we were reminded of the impact of the images that we have in our classroom and the importance of in-group messaging, right? How we can intentionally look at and include dancers of varying body shapes, of varying shades of skin, of varying abilities in our classrooms, so that we are providing a level of positive in-group messaging to the dancers that are in our classroom. But there's more. There's definitely more. And I don't have all of the answers to the question. So feel free to drop your wisdom in the comments below as we step into our takeaway number 3, which is Unchecked. Our last and final quote from the book is coming once again from our artist. She is an artist, our author. And it reads, "A culture where it is inappropriate, impolite, improper to discuss race in professional settings, in not talking about the structures of inequality, we uphold and protect them and allow institutions and cultural practices to go unchecked." End quote. So these words can be found on page 230 of the book and are nestled between a section that mentions Eduardo Bonilla Silva, and it describes how once set, racism as a structure does not need to be upheld by racist people. Once the structure is set, it can keep going, right? So we have the author's words, and then it's followed by a small section that mentions Isabel Wilkerson's work in the book Caste, that describes the ways in which people accept programming, and systems enacted by unforeseen agents, right? Like, this is the way we do things. But why is it the way that we do things? And who says something, or who will do something if we do something differently, right? Questions that come up in my mind, and I guess the best way to close this out is to borrow from the words of the wonderful dancer Regina Charlie Beth. Let's incite respectful discourse that creates a better world of dance for those coming after us. I would love to hear your thoughts around this idea and this topic in the comments below. I'm always looking for a good book to read, so feel free to drop a title below as well, or just drop a book emoji so that I know that you were here with me. This has been 26-Minute Reads with me, Mya D. Check out the details. I left some great things there as well. And remember to like and subscribe to this video if you liked this video or found it interesting in any other kind of way. Remember to stay blessed, spread a good word, and I'll see you again soon. Take care.